My name is Stephen Nicola, and I am originally from the San Francisco Bay Area where I grew up, and I worked and lived in the city of San Francisco for 20 years. But in the early 2000s, I moved to Honolulu, Hawaii, where I lived for 16 years, and now I'm living here in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. I moved to Mexico very recently. I feel like I'm still in my adjustment period. I will start by saying I really like living here and I love Mexico, but it is an adjustment, and every day I'm learning something new, and I'm not quite feeling at home yet, but I do believe that I will get there. The pandemic had a lot to do with my thinking and my decision to change my life. So I decided that I wanted to live in a place that was as beautiful as Hawaii is, but not as expensive as Hawaii is. So I also love Latin America. I've been to many places in Latin America and have journeyed throughout Mexico, Central America, and South America. So I felt like I had a lot of choices, and I did consider some other countries like Costa Rica and Ecuador, and I considered some other places in Mexico too. But I ultimately chose Mexico, and specifically Puerto Vallarta, because I wanted to be somewhere warm like Hawaii, and Puerto Vallarta has very similar weather to Hawaii. I decided I wanted to be reasonably close to the United States in case I needed to get there quickly. I wanted to be in a gay-friendly community, and that is definitely Puerto Vallarta, and there are not a lot of gay-friendly places in Latin America, so if you're gay, your options get whittled down a little bit. I wanted to be where there was a lot of American expats, services that I'm used to, like having a Costco and a Walmart and a good supermarket and good health care and all those kinds of things. I wanted to be in a place where I felt like I could more easily build community because I'm single and I'm on my own. For those reasons, it seemed like Puerto Vallarta checked most of the boxes. There were some other cities in Mexico that I considered, and frankly am still considering. So I'm not 100% certain that Puerto Vallarta will be my last stop. But I did consider Mexico City, because Mexico City is a really super exciting city. I've been there multiple times. There's so much to do there. But Mexico City is a little chilly because of the altitude, and they don't have heat in the houses there. So I've considered Guadalajara. I've considered San Miguel de Allende because of its beauty. So there's so many other places in Mexico that I need to explore, and who knows, maybe after some exploration, I'll choose another place. I'm in the process of applying for my senior discount card so I can travel around for less. If you're, I think, 60 and older, I'm 66, so I definitely qualify. You go down to the office and you bring all your paperwork with you, and you get this card. And one of the main benefits is apparently there are super steep discounts for bus travel. I am renting. So this is a rental that we're sitting in, and at some point I may buy, but not until I'm certain where I'm going to wind up permanently. And this neighborhood is a very special neighborhood. This is technically the Emiliano Zapata neighborhood, but most people know it as the Romantic Zone, or Zona Romantica. So this is the place where all the tourists come. Coming from Hawaii, I compare this neighborhood to Waikiki, which is full of hotels and restaurants and nightclubs and bars, and especially in the high season, it's very crowded with lots of tourists from the United States and Canada mostly, but other countries too. So this is the place to come to experience all the fun that would be associated with taking a vacation to Mexico. And nearby there are all-inclusive resorts, and it's a 10-minute walk to the beach from here, and all the outdoor beach activities and hiking trails and swimming and parasailing and surfing and all those kind of things. So this is the place for that. I like the vibe and the atmosphere and the energy in a place like this. There was definitely a process in choosing my rental and where to live and finding it and all the things that go with it. The process actually began with my trying to decide whether I wanted to buy something or rent something. And when I first started making my plans to move here, I thought I wanted to buy. And I took an exploratory trip back in 2019 and spent a month down here looking at property to buy. And a very nice real estate agent took me out and showed me lots of places. But being a real estate agent myself, what happened to me has happened to almost every client I've worked with. The budget that I wanted to work with didn't match what I was seeing in that price range, and everything that I did like cost significantly more than I wanted to spend. So I decided I'm not going to buy, but that didn't change my desire to live here. So I began working on my residency process, and then I came back down here in April of this year to complete my temporary residency, and that's when I started looking at rentals. That was a process because, I hadn't been a renter for decades. So here I am looking for a rental for the first time in many, many years in a different country. So I had watched lots of videos before coming here on YouTube and saw lots of people give advice. Go walking around in the neighborhoods that you think you want to live in, look for rent signs, call those people up. But also, I found Facebook groups to be the best source of finding rental property. And I did join several Facebook groups and Facebook Marketplace, which before this process I really didn't know anything about, but I learned about it pretty quickly. And so that's how I found this place. So I met this one particular agent here. And it's halfway up a very steep hill. And not only that, from the front door of the building on the street to the front door of my unit are 72 steps to climb. And I wasn't going to take it for that very reason. I thought, I cannot climb all these steps and climb up this hill. But when I got here, I did see an amazing view, an amazing ocean view, and the unit was in good enough condition. It was priced a little bit more than what I thought it ought to be priced, and a little bit more than what I wanted to pay. But I also quickly found out that rents here in Puerto Vallarta are higher than what I thought they would be. The rent on this place is 25,000 pesos a month. That's about $1,250, which is more than what I wanted to pay. I thought I'd be able to find something for $800 to $1,000. And those kind of places are out there, but they're not, I haven't seen anything in that price range that would be appropriate for me. So what has happened here in Puerto Vallarta is the same thing that has happened in resort communities around the world. It's happened in Hawaii. It's happened in many places as a result of the pandemic. People have moved to work digitally, which I am doing too. I'm one of those people. They're willing to pay more. There's a lot more demand, and prices have gone up. So this unit was priced really more than what I wanted to pay. But what I wanted to pay, I looked at units in that price range and they wouldn't have worked for me. So I had to cough up a little bit more money than what I thought I wanted to. As far as all the stairs, I started thinking about it, and I am in fact overweight. I've been working on losing weight ever since the beginning of the pandemic, as a matter of fact. And in April, I was 20 pounds lighter than I was at the beginning of the pandemic. And in my mind, I knew I wasn't done, and I knew I had about maybe 30 more pounds to go. So I figured, you know what? Let me take this place. I'll climb up these steps every day. I'll climb up this hill, and that will be a good source of exercise for me and will keep me motivated to eat right and to keep going. And it's been working because I'm 18 pounds lighter than I was when I moved in here on June 1st. I'm about a 5-block walk from the heart of the tourist zone. So where I'm living, it is in fact quite residential. And most of the services that I need are close by. So for example, a block away is the lavanderia, where I take my clothes to be washed once a week. There's not a washer dryer in my unit, but it's only a block to the laundry service, and it costs me usually, depending on how much I bring down, because they charge by the weight, but it's usually 90 pesos. The most I've ever paid, I think, is 120 pesos. That would be $6. Across the street from there is a pharmacy with a doctor who's there 6 days a week. And I did have to use him once because I got sick. So I went down there because they had a great big sign that said English speaking doctor, and I went down there, and do you know, it was 50 pesos to see him, which is like $2. It's $2.50. I don't know how a doctor makes a living on $2.50 for an office visit, but he was very nice, and it helped because I knew what was wrong with me. He agreed with me and gave me the antibiotic, and I was out of there in 10 minutes, and it was really easy and really inexpensive. And the prescription costs more than the visit to the doctor. There's an outdoor market right around the corner where all the locals go and do their shopping, and there you can buy your fruits and vegetables and your meats and chicken and hardware supplies, and you name it, you can get it at that mercado, and it's really close by, and everybody goes there. There's also a gourmet grocery store about a 10-minute walk, so that's where I can go. I do keto, and if you know anything about keto, a lot of the recipes are kind of like vegan, although I don't consider myself a vegan. So those ingredients that you need to do keto cooking, they can be a little harder to find and a little more expensive, but you can find them. And there is, as I said, a gourmet store that caters to people like me that want these specialty items, and you can go down there and get those things. There are plenty of restaurants nearby, many, of course, gay friendly, because this is there's so many gay people in the neighborhood. The thing about the restaurants here is I have tried some of them, but I probably eat 90% of my meals at home, again, because I've been disciplined eating my keto meals and continuing to lose weight. And I've learned how to take the buses here. That was one of the most exciting things for me because I'm a car driver. You know, being an American, I drove everywhere all my life. I never would be seen on a bus in the United States, but I learned how to take a bus here in Mexico, and it's only 10 pesos for the bus. That's 50 cents. So I don't have to pay for gas, I don't have to pay for car insurance, I don't have a car payment, just 10 pesos and I'm on the bus. So there are lots of American-style supermarkets here in Mexico, and there are different levels of supermarkets, just like in the United States. So there's a Soriana supermarket, which is kind of a big supermarket chain here. It's kind of like Safeway in the United States. It's sort of like a, it's not really known for its gourmet products, but it's basic. It's got good meats, it's got good fruits, it's got good vegetables, and all of your staples can be found there. If you want a Whole Foods experience, you can get on the bus and go to La Comer. And you know what? I would say La Comer is actually fancier than any Whole Foods that I'm used to in the United States. So you can get just any kind of high-end gourmet food, and they've got an amazing bakery, and they've got a cafe where you can have coffee, and they've got a fresh meat department. They've got butchers there that will cut the types of meat for you. They've got everything there, and that's where you find the American imported stuff. I go to the local neighborhood grocery stores if I want to buy a bottle of water, or if I'm out of whipped cream, or if I just want one or two items, something like that. But for my twice a month, I'll get on the bus and I'll go to one of the grocery stores, and then since it's it's like 20 minutes away, so I take a taxi back home. And this is so interesting to me. So when you leave the grocery stores here, you always have a young man, probably late teens or maybe early 20s, and he's standing at the door, the exit of the store, and asks you if you need a taxi. And so I say yes, and he runs out to the street and he gets you a taxi. And then the taxi comes, and you give him 10 or 20 pesos for his service, and he helps you put the bags in the trunk of the taxi, and then the taxi takes you home. Oh, and there's a Starbucks, and so I go down to Starbucks once a day to have an iced tea, and Starbucks is in the middle of the place, and since I don't go to the gay bars because I'm not a drinker, and I'm in bed early. I'm in bed when all the action is starting. But the Starbucks is kind of the place where you meet people. So I go down there once a day. I had all of my friends in the United States say, "Oh, it's so dangerous in Mexico. Don't go to Mexico. The cartels are all over the place." And well, I just never listen to people when they start talking like that. And as far as my own personal safety, I have not felt any danger at all. I was pretty certain that I wanted to move here, and I started thinking about, how do I get my residency? And that was what motivated me to subscribe to the Mexico Relocation Guide, because it promised me that there would be specific instructions on how to do that. And there were. I find that guide is really helpful for people who are trying to figure out how to come here. And not that it isn't helpful anymore, but now that I'm here, well, a lot of my day-to-day activities I sort of figure out, on my own, but I still go back to the guide from time to time just to help with things that are confusing me a little bit. I decided that I wanted to apply for a work permit. I went back to the immigration lawyer that I use and asked them for help. And she sent me an email and said, well, do you have your RFC? And I said, well, I don't know what that is, so I guess not. So that process has confused me a little bit. So I found out that Mexico passed a law that said an RFC number would be required of anybody that wanted to work or earn money in Mexico. The other thing that I find confusing is immigration has changed the procedure for leaving and entering the country. So now apparently it's digital. There have been a couple of articles on the Mexico Relocation Guide that have been explaining that, and also with the caveat that it's all new and still being worked out, and there may be more changes to come. And so that's been something that I've been returning to the guide for as more information becomes available. I remember watching one of the videos that talked about Mexico is a noisy place. And it was an amusing video to watch, but it was also very true. There are lots of bars and restaurants in the neighborhood, and occasionally the wind will drift and you'll hear the music, you'll hear the laughter, you'll hear the loud car radios playing, you'll hear the gas truck go by tooting the horn if you want to buy gas or water, or just all the noise just never stops here. The guide has been useful for things like that. Combination of what to expect, but also you don't really know what to expect until you get there. So I rise and I spend my first hours in prayer and meditation, reading. I shower and dress, and by 8 o'clock I'm ready to eat breakfast, which I make myself in my own kitchen. Then I'm out the door about 8:30 in the morning, and I start every day meeting with some friends that I have made in the community, and we meet every morning promptly at 9 o'clock, and we sort of hang out for an hour, hour and a half, and then I either come home from there, do some reading, writing, or I take a morning walk before the day gets too hot. Errands, if there are any errands that I need to run, I like to do them before noon. And then I'm always home, no matter what's going on. I'm home no later than 12:30, because at 1 o'clock I do some online consulting and coaching and English language tutoring. And that was something that I started doing at the beginning of the pandemic, just because we were under lockdown, couldn't go anywhere, and in order to keep my sanity, I needed something to do. So I got into this part-time side gig, which I really like, and it gives me something to do. It makes me productive, and I've met some pretty cool people on this journey. So I make myself available for these activities from 1 to 5 in the afternoon. Then once that is done, I slither on back outside again, usually if it's not raining, and that's when I'll maybe go to the supermarket if I need to go to the supermarket, or I'll go down to Starbucks and have my iced tea and bat my eyes at whoever goes walking by, meet some other friends. Sometimes I go out to dinner or take my walk down the Malecon and watch the sunset down there. And before you know it, it's 8:30, and then I climb back up the hill and come home. And if the sun is finishing setting, I get to see it from my balcony. I might watch something on Netflix, but in Hawaii, I would start watching TV at 6:30 because the sun has gone down, so I'd be watching 2 or 3 hours of television. But not here, so maybe 1 hour, one Netflix program, and then by then it's 10 o'clock and I'm ready to go sleep. Well, is Puerto Vallarta really the place where I want to wind up permanently? And that's a question that I can't answer because I haven't had the opportunity or the time to travel about, to experience other areas of Mexico to see if maybe it would be a better fit for me. Long-term health care is also something that I'm still grappling with. The Mexico Relocation Guide has actually been very helpful with that too, and I didn't mention it. I know, and I've learned from the Mexico Relocation Guide, that there are good long-term health insurance options available to me. I haven't chosen any of them yet, but I have also discovered that the cost for those is actually more expensive than I had thought too. Not as expensive as what I paid for health care in the United States, and I paid through the nose in the United States because I was always an independent contractor, so I was never on a group health plan, but more than I thought it would be here. So for anybody who's thinking about moving to Mexico, I would say do a lot of research. Make use of the Mexico Relocation Guide because there is a lot of information in there. Honestly, I haven't made use of all the information that's in there, not because I don't think it's useful, it's just because there's a lot of information in there. The only other advice I would say, no matter how well prepared you are, there will still be things that will come up that you didn't think about. You can prepare yourself as smartly as you can, but you still have to be flexible and be able to expect the unexpected so that you can be happy. I won't get into how I'm a spiritual person. Nobody really wants to know that, but I practice spirituality, put it that way. And what I discovered is, for me, my most surprising types of spiritual change and growth have come when I've taken myself out of my comfortable environment and put myself in a new environment. And that's happened to me in the past, and it's happened to me here in Mexico too. So let's just say that I've experienced a surprising spiritual insight that has opened up my eyes to certain things in a new way that I didn't realize was going to happen.